You've seen the headlines, right? These corporate giants spending billions upon billions of dollars to buy up their competition. But what's really going on there? I mean, it's not just about getting bigger. It's about chasing this one really powerful and, honestly, often elusive promise. So let's ask that question directly. Why do they do it? They're not just buying buildings and spreadsheets and employee lists. No, they're buying a vision. They're buying into this idea that they can become something bigger, better, and way more valuable together than they could ever be on their own. And it all comes down to a single word. A word I guarantee you've heard thrown around in boardrooms or on the business news. It's the supposed magic ingredient that's meant to justify these absolutely massive price tags. And that word is synergy. It's the simple but kind of profound belief that 1 plus 1 can actually equal 3. The idea is that when you put two companies together, you create this new powerhouse that's worth more than just the sum of its parts. And believe me, this is the core belief that drives pretty much every major merger and acquisition out there. So let's really dig into this 1 plus 1 equals 3 promise. I mean, how do you even calculate something that sounds, well, kind of like magic? Turns out there's actually a formula for it. At its core, the math is surprisingly straightforward. You just take the value of the new combined company, and then you subtract what the two original companies were worth separately. If that number you're left with is positive, boom, you've created value, synergy exists. But if it's 0, or worse, negative, well, you've just paid a whole lot of money for a massive headache. And that positive value, it isn't just some abstract number on a spreadsheet. No way. It translates into real, tangible stuff. We're talking about the power to bring in way more revenue, to slash costs, to operate more efficiently, and basically to become a much, much tougher competitor out in the market. But here's the thing. Synergy isn't just one big, vague concept. You can think of it more like a playbook with different strategies for creating that extra value. And our source material breaks it down beautifully into 4 distinct types. So these are the 4 main ways companies try to get that 1 plus 1 equals 3 effect. First, you've got operational synergy. That's kind of like getting a corporate buy-in bulk discount on everything. Then there's financial synergy, which is all about getting better deals from the bank because you're a bigger, safer bet. Managerial is when one company's secret sauce, their killer management style, gets shared with the other. And finally, revenue synergy, that's the dream of combining sales teams to sell more stuff to way more people. Okay, so the theory is fantastic. The playbook seems pretty clear, but how do you actually turn these great ideas into real, cold, hard cash? This is where the story takes a turn. It's where we move from the promise of the boardroom to the harsh reality of making it all happen. I mean, it sounds like a sure thing, doesn't it? You combine 2 companies, you follow the playbook, and poof, you get free value. But is it really that simple? Is synergy this golden ticket to success? Yeah, as you've probably guessed, the answer is a big not quite. See, according to the research, synergy isn't automatic at all. It's conditional. In fact, real value only gets created if you follow 3 absolutely critical rules. All right, and this is the crucial part. Rule number 1, the benefits have to be real and measurable. None of this vague, will be more innovative talk. Rule 2, the financial gains you get have to be bigger than the extra price, the premium, you paid to buy the company. You just can't overpay for the dream. And rule 3, which is often the hardest part, the 2 companies have to actually merge their cultures and their systems smoothly. And that third rule, smooth integration, well, that brings us to the final and most critical part of this whole story. This is the merger's big test. It's the sobering reason why so many of these huge deals you read about ultimately fail to deliver on that billion-dollar promise. Because here's the core problem. On one side, you have the dream. That's the expected synergy. It's the optimistic, best-case scenario that gets sold to investors, all fueled by excitement. And on the other side, you have the reality, the realized synergy. And that's the actual value that's left after all the friction, the turf wars, the painful system migrations. The gap between that dream and that reality is where most mergers go to die. So closing that gap, that's the entire game. Success demands a brutally honest estimate of synergy from the very beginning, not some fairy tale. It requires a flawless integration plan, decisive leadership, and, this is a huge one, you have to prevent a massive culture clash. You can't just mash 2 companies together and hope for the best if the employees are basically fighting a civil war. So all of this analysis, all these rules, all these types of synergy, it all boils down to one single essential takeaway. Probably the most important sentence in our entire source text. And here it is.
The failure isn't because synergy is a myth. It's not. It's because we as human beings get caught up in the dream. We overestimate the potential because we want to believe it, and then we underestimate the brutal, painstaking work that's required to make that dream a reality.
So now you have the tools. The next time you see one of those headlines about a multi-billion-dollar merger, you can look right past the hype and ask the real question. Are they talking about a measurable, achievable plan, or are they just selling a very, very expensive dream?